Touchdown, Pittsburgh!
Touchdown, Washington!
What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Steelskin Show, a show hosted by one diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan and one diehard Washington Redskins fan. From game recaps, game previews, news headlines, analysis, opinions, and all kinds of other stuff, we've got you covered on all things Pittsburgh Steelers and Washington Redskins. My name is Patrick, and I'm the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers here on the show.
I'm Chris, voice of the Washington Redskins.
Chris, what's up, bro?
Good, man. How's
Bro.
it going?
I thought we could skip the Steelskin Show tonight and talk about something that I feel like is not getting enough attention in the sports world. You want to talk about McGregor-Mayweather? No one's talking about it, dude.
I don't think there's anything to talk about.
I feel like we should do our recap of that fight.
Dude, look, it was a joke when they planned it. I mean,
I think it was textbook how people said it was going to go. Like,
it was a money grab.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, how can either of these dudes be sad?
Oh, no, I mean...
They're walking out. I mean, the estimated amount of money that Conor McGregor is going to make off this is somewhere around $100 million.
Yeah.
It's a $30 million payday. And then based on, commercials and endorsements and all this, it could climb as high as $100 million.
Yeah, and then who knows what Mayweather's making for winning the fight. I mean,
I'm sorry, it was a joke. It was a bridge to nowhere.
Yeah, there was a reason they were hugging after the fight.
Yeah, I mean,
listen,
this thing. There's no way Conor McGregor was going to win this fight unless he got some kind of lucky punch, and just crumpled Mayweather. And that, I just don't think Mayweather's ever going to let that happen. But Mayweather said after the fight, his plan was, look, we're gonna let him box himself out.
Yeah, but that's even what the non-boxing experts were saying. I mean, even the people who know nothing about fighting were like, hey, McGregor's going to swing the first 5 rounds.
Exactly.
And then here comes Mayweather just to let him tire out and then smack him a little bit. Like, it went exactly how we all said it was going to go. So
yeah, I'm really glad I was not among the...
I'm really proud that I didn't buy the fight, because some people I knew actually bought the $99, bought it on Showtime.
And look, Mayweather is what he is. I've never been a fan of Mayweather's game, so to speak.
I don't consider him an elite boxer.
I mean, his 50-0 record is impressive, but I've never considered him to be a dominant fighter in the mold of what we used to see with Hitman Hearns. Back in the 80s. What we used to see out of Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, I guess I grew up watching these dudes pummel each other for 12 rounds.
Yeah, I mean,
he went that far.
Floyd I would say he's an elite defenseman.
Yeah, he's a skater. I mean,
but he's not a powerhouse boxer by any stretch of the imagination.
Never has been.
But I mean, 50-0 is 50-0, so props to him. Like I said, just really glad I didn't drop $100 on Showtime.
Exactly.
Chris, week 3 of the NFL preseason is in the books. Things are beginning to shape up a little bit now. I think our 53-man rosters are starting to come in clearer than they ever have before. I don't know. How do you feel right now? You feel like, you feel roster-wise, you feel like you're pretty comfortable with where the Redskins are? Do you feel like you need maybe one more game to sort of feel like, you're comfortable with who you guys are taking, or...
I mean, I feel like I know who should be on the 53.
Yeah.
But then
again,
you don't know
your coaching staff.
That's
usually
what I'm saying. I mean, I don't make those decisions.
Yeah.
So, I like our roster. I just think we've got some young guys that have to develop. We've got some new guys that are going to be growing. So I mean, I think. I think talent-wise, we're about as good off in most areas as we've been in the last 10 years.
Right.
But I'm not sure that necessarily means a 12-4 division champion either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, for us, I think the wide receiver position, I think the running back position, the cornerback position, I think are the maybe the only 3 where it's a little bit foggy. Other than that, I think everything's completely clear and focused. But the final cut down is what, the 2nd of September?
2nd of September, yeah. I mean, that's really quick.
That's really quick. Because, it was kind of funny. Chris and I had planned to do, we're going to do a prediction show. We're going to do our prediction. And then Chris was like, it's the 2nd. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, we're not going to do a prediction show.
It's not going to have time. I guess we'll be here doing an evaluation show of our teams.
Right, we're just going to evaluate the 53.
Yeah, sorry, guys. But anyway, so week 3 of the 2017 NFL preseason's in the books. Chris, you guys weren't able to get it. No, you guys were able to get it done.
We won, and you guys did not win.
We did not win. I wanted to go undefeated so bad in the preseason.
Right. Cue the overreaction. So, Patrick, I guess the takeaway that I had from this game is, are you happy with where things are defensively?
Not in every area. I guess just, we'll start the show tonight with exactly where we started last week in the Atlanta Falcons game, and that is the secondary's performance. For the 2nd week in a row, the secondary just looked downright bad. If you thought this was going to be the week where they fixed the mistakes from last week, unfortunately, you're just going to have to wait a little bit longer on that.
I feel you, player.
And the thing that was frustrating is it was the same exact mistakes. Tackling, miscommunications, breakdowns, space out there in the open field. And I think that's what's frustrating me a little bit with this preseason, with what we've seen with the secondary, is, the first game against the New York Giants, Chris, I felt like we were sitting here talking about how the secondary looked good, how the coverage was tight. And I feel like in the preseason, what you're looking for is steady growth, steady improvement. We've seen the secondary do this as the preseason has gone on, and that's something that's a little bit troubling to me. I'm doing the best I can to say hashtag just the preseason, but I'm beginning to believe where there's smoke, there could be a little bit of a fire. So I am a little bit worried. I don't think I'm going to lose sleep over it right now, but I am a little bit worrisome right now. But it really all started with the Steelers' first defensive drive of the game. The Colts had just recovered from a strip sack on Ben Roethlisberger. They take over on downs. Scott Tolzien throws a very simple 8-yard pass over the middle to Dante Moncrief, and should have been an easy 8-yard gain. Here comes Robert Golden in to make a very easy tackle. No, Robert Golden decides to be Mr. Fancy Pants, and instead of just a football 101 tackle, hey, I'm going to turn my head and lean in with the shoulder, and he just misses. Just flat out misses the tackle. Artie Burns had an opportunity to make a tackle. He didn't make it either. And what should have been an 8-yard gain, Chris, turned into a 55-yard gain down to the Steelers' 8-yard line. So, and I want to begin this week kind of with something that I talked about last week. Folks, the time to put Jordan Dangerfield over Robert Golden on the depth chart is right now. I feel like, Chris, Robert Golden has reached a point where he is consistently making mistakes. And, I mean, ever since we have taken this guy off of playing special teams exclusively and we've given him some snaps at safety, the guy has done nothing but screw up. And I like Robert Golden. We all as fans like Robert Golden. He's a great team guy. He's a big leader. He's kind of one of the hearts and souls. Like his character, like his work ethic. But, guys, we got to start being honest about where Golden is. The guy is consistently screwing up. Dangerfield, on the other hand, has not been screwing up. Dangerfield, on the other hand, has looked pretty good. And I think if you're Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin, you've got to start looking at this honestly, man. So, anyway, just had to get that in there. I've kind of over Golden just a little bit. Artie Burns, we'll talk about him right now. Rough day for him. We talked about the missed tackle there in the Moncrief play. I'm willing to give Artie Burns a pass in this game, Chris, because Artie's had a great offseason. And unlike some of these other guys like Ross Cockrell, Robert Golden, who have consistently screwed up, Artie hasn't been doing that. I just think any other day of the week, Artie Burns would not have made some of these mistakes that he made in this game. I just think he's a lot better.
Right.
He had 2 big missed tackles in this game. There was also a play that was very, very confusing to me. Tolzien goes back to pass. Here comes pressure from Tyler Matakevich up the middle. Just drills Tolzien. Tolzien was somehow able to get the throw off, but he hits a receiver. I think it was Philip Dorsett. He hits Philip Dorsett down the left sideline, and the ball was not a bullet. It was very lofty throw up in the air, and these are the plays that when you go back and watch Artie Burns tape in college, he's jumping in front of that football. He is making a play on that ball. He's taking it for a pick six. The ball's on the way, and Burns literally sits behind Dorsett and waits for the ball to get there, then makes the tackle.
Oh, boy.
And I thought to myself, any other day of the week, Artie, you probably would have jumped on that ball. Like, what's going on there? So, I mean, I'm going to be honest, it was not a good day for Artie Burns, but I just feel like on any other day of the week, he's not going to make those mistakes. I just didn't feel like he looked like himself in this game, but he was kind of part of the problem. And then there's Ross Cockrell. Chris, this is a particularly tough conversation for me to have because I've been one of the lone voices in the wilderness defending Ross Cockrell.
Right.
You even here on the Steelskin Show have been trying to talk me back to sanity, saying, Patrick, he's bad. I am slowly but surely having to join the mainstream on Ross Cockrell.
Wow.
It's bad. It just looks really bad. And he was kind of one of the big talks of last game against the Atlanta Falcons. He gave up that massive 44-yard bomb down the field to Reggie White.
Right.
And we were all talking about him. Well, the spitting image of that happens in this game, except it comes in the form of Philip Dorsett. Just gets burned on the right sideline again, very much like the Reggie White play. Just gets beat and just slaughtered on the outside by Dorsett. Not even close. Just flies right by him. 32-yard bomb down the field. Then you tack on the 15-yard penalty that Bud Dupree had. All those yards add up. It's just been bad for Ross Cockrell. And I guess that's where now we'll talk about the big news of last week. You know, we all sort of thought that no matter how bad Ross Cockrell got, it was going to be Ross Cockrell, Artie Burns on the outside. Well, it turns out Mike Tomlin kind of threw water on that last week. Mike Tomlin just straight up said, hey, there is a battle for that outside spot. I love the way Mike Tomlin uses words. He's very good at the English language. He said it's becoming 2 dogs, 1 bone on that outside edge. And he is in competition right now with Cody Sensabaugh for that outside job. And let's be honest, you know, even though Sensabaugh is somebody who doesn't really overwhelm us, Sensabaugh has been the better guy this offseason. He hasn't been making the mistakes that Cockrell has. He hasn't been giving up the big plays. I also think with Sensabaugh, you do get some traits in him that Cockrell does not have. I think you get more speed, you get more athleticism. I think you get a little more in the way of physicality as well. You don't get the length and the size that Cockrell has, but some of those other traits I think that I kind of think Sensabaugh makes up for. Look, here's what I think you're running into with Ross Cockrell, and I genuinely believe this. I don't think you're running into a football IQ problem. I don't think you're running into a guy who does not know how to play the corner position. I think what we're beginning to run into with Ross Cockrell is a very simple problem. It's just physical limitations.
Right.
I don't think Ross Cockrell is a very fast player. I don't think he is an overly physical player. And I just think that's beginning to catch up with the guy a little bit. Ross Cockrell is a smart football player. He watches a lot of film. He spends a lot of time, working out and trying to perfect his game. So it's not a work ethic problem and it's not an IQ problem. I just think that the guy's running into the physical limitations. Mike Tomlin did hold a press conference, I think, today, and he said that the war isn't over yet. He said there's a little more evaluation to be done, but it does appear to be that it appears right now that Sensabaugh is kind of leading the competition right now. So, but anyway, kind of back to the secondary as a whole. To put a couple of things in perspective, guys, Scott Tolzien goes 7 of 10 for 123 yards. Stephen Morris goes 12 of 16 for 143 yards. Okay? The Colts had big pass plays in this game of 32, 55, 24, 2 pass plays of 17, and 1 of 20. Those are big yardage plays. I mean, this is something we talked about, last week, and I feel like we talked about last year. There were just some times, man, where offenses could easily just move the ball down the field on this team. And I feel like here in the preseason in 2017, we're kind of seeing it again. So, in my best efforts to try to interpret what's going on right now, folks, with this secondary, and I am no NFL expert analyst, but if I could give you my little take on what might be happening with this secondary. First off, I think communication is still off. I don't think the problem that we're running into is a personnel problem. I think plenty of the guys on this roster are very, very athletic. I think are very, very talented. I just think there appears to be some sort of communication breakdown somewhere in this defense. Could some of it be when the outside linebackers and the inside linebackers are initially picking up some of these receivers? Because, this is something you see a lot. Initially, they'll pick up the contact, but then they'll let them fall further into the secondary.
Right.
Is there some kind of breakdown in communication there between the linebackers and the, cornerbacks and safeties? I don't know, but there does appear to be some kind of communication breakdown here. I think some of this could be the transition that we're making. The Steelers obviously desire to play more man-to-man coverage, more press man, more dime. That's a sub-package that you did not see the Steelers play a whole lot last season, and that's something that Keith Butler said, hey, I want to play a little more this season. So maybe the transition this defense is trying to make, maybe the growing pains are coming up a little bit. Folks, I said it last week. I think the Steelers miss Mike Mitchell. I know that we've talked about Mike Mitchell and some of his blunders at times on this show, but the Steelers are a better team when he is on this football field. It's kind of like you talk about with D'Angelo Hall.
Yeah.
D'Angelo Hall clearly has his issues. He clearly has his problems. But, Chris, you've talked about him before. You feel like the Redskins are a better team when he's on the field. You feel like his leadership ability. You feel like the communication. He makes sure everybody's lined up in the right spot. Mike Mitchell kind of does the same thing. He's an incredible presence out there. Tackling. I mean, this is something that isn't this isn't an overly complicated conversation to have. It's football 101, man. Just tackle. These are things that should not be happening. And then last but not least, man, I just think we have a slow but sure uncertainty forming at the cornerback position right now. Chris, I'll ask you, outside of Artie Burns, what real certainty do the Steelers have at corner right now?
I can't think of anybody right offhand.
Well, and that's because you can't. Artie Burns, his spot's fine. We know he's going to be a starting outside corner. But then on the other outside spot, you've got a war going on right now between Cody Sensabaugh and Ross Cockrell. Okay? Let's be honest. Even if Cody Sensabaugh wins out the job, do we consider Cody Sensabaugh to be a long-term solution at outside corner? I don't think so. I think he could probably be a little more effective than Cockrell in the short term, but I don't think this is a long-term solution by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
And then we have 900 slot corners. You've got William Gay, you've got Mike Hilton, and you've got Cameron Sutton. Those are all slot guys. So I'm delighted that we have all these slot guys, but most of those guys aren't going to line up on the outside. Maybe Cameron Sutton, I think the Steelers have been experimenting with him a little bit, putting him on the outside, but I mean, you're not going to line 5'9" Mike Hilton over there on the outside.
No, you're not gonna make a living doing that for very long.
No. So I mean, outside of Artie Burns, there really is a big question mark on how are we going to line these cornerbacks up? Where are they going to go on the field?
Right.
We do kind of have an uncertainty there. So that's really all I'll say about the secondary. Hopefully we can get this under control before the season starts, because it is starting to bother me a little bit. I thought the pass rush is something that has fallen off a little bit ever since the New York Giants game. Not bad, though. I mean, the pressure last week against Atlanta was good. I also thought the pressure this week was good. It was just kind of a matter of sacks not getting home. But you can't say the pressure hasn't been there. So hopefully that can kind of pick up a little bit more. I think our run defense is fine. I was a little troubled at a couple of the big runs Frank Gore had in this game, especially right up the gut. But I really do believe this team is going to be a great team against the run. I'm not too worried about that. To narrow down some of these players who I thought had really impressive performances, good old Ryan Shazier, baby, makes his preseason debut. Preseason, man. You see how country I sounded? It's getting worse. Mom always told me it was getting worse as I got older. I was like, Mom, how come I don't have an accent? She's like, you wait till you get a little older, boy. She's like, it'll get worse.
It'll happen.
Ryan Shazier, he made his preseason debut, and he kind of made the highlight game, or the highlight play of the game for this defense. On the Colts' second offensive drive, Colts tight end is lined up in the slot. Shazier, who is just becoming very artful at pass protection, by the way. This guy now, Chris, has an interception in his last 6 games he's played in. Just very artful what he does here. He looks at Jordan Dangerfield. He points to the tight end, telling him, hey, we need to cover him. Really what Shazier was doing this entire time was giving the illusion that he wasn't dropping into coverage. Baited Tolson throw his way, interception. This is something that should terrify defenses, because Shazier is already a stud at getting after the quarterback, shooting through gaps, stuffing the run, blowing up bubble screens. You add the pass protection element on top of his already
pass defense.
Or pass defense, I'm sorry. You add that onto the already established game he has. Think about the weapon this guy becomes. So I'm stoked about Ryan Shazier. I think this guy has the potential. I already think he is one of the most dangerous defensive players in the league. I just think the potential for that to go up is even greater this season. Vince Williams, I thought he had a noisy day. 8 tackles, led the Steelers on the day. I just think once again he proved he can do it all, folks. He can get after the quarterback. He can cover. He can blow up the run in the backfield. I just think, so many people doubt Vince Williams, and I think he just continually proves people wrong, just shows people he can do everything that an inside linebacker is supposed to do. Cameron Sutton. Chris, we finally got Cameron Sutton on the field in this game, and he did have himself a very nice debut. First play of the game for him. Had a beautiful pass breakup, dove in front of the play and made a play on the ball, or in front of the receiver, made a play on the ball. Later on in the game, made a beautiful tackle for a loss in the backfield on Marlon Mack. So after all this time that Cam Sutton's missed, for him to make his debut and then have a game like this was very exciting.
Right.
Really was impressed with how the Steelers used him in this game. They lined him up in the slot, also experimented with him on the outside a little bit. And, here we are talking about the war between Ross Cockrell and Cody Sensabaugh. Maybe Cameron Sutton can get some snaps on the outside, start doing some stuff. So he does give us a little bit of flexibility in our corner game. So the fact he's back now and healthy, that is big for us. And I thought Bud Dupree also had a solid showing in his preseason debut. He did not register a sack on the day, but he did get consistent pressure throughout the game, I thought. He also had a roughing the passer call. So that, I think he's good. I think he's ready. I think he's ready for the regular season. So that pretty much does it for the defense. Now we'll move to the offense now. I kind of had quite a few takeaways from this offensive performance, most of which are very, very positive. I thought a lot of guys had standout performances, but what everyone was watching for, obviously, was the debut of Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. They made their preseason debuts. And, Chris, I think I speak for everybody when I say that they both look good. They both look ready. Ben Roethlisberger goes 6 of 9 for 73 yards. Should have been 7 of 9 for probably 83 yards or so, if not for a bad drop by Jesse James, but who, by the way, just did not have a good game at all. Just a very inconsistent game from him. We'll talk about Jesse James a little bit more later. But yeah, I just thought Ben looked smooth. I thought he looked comfortable. I thought he looked healthy. And I'm excited about him going into the regular season. 2 out of those 6 completions went to our boy Antonio Brown. He had 2 catches on the day for, I think, about 28 yards total, 1 of 13, 1 of 15. To talk about that 15-yard reception very quickly, this was just a display of how much chemistry these two guys have. He's running a crossing route. Ben knows that AB is not yet in the point of his route where he's ready to look back at the football, but Ben trusts him anyway. He throws the ball a little bit behind AB. And when AB turns his head, he's got just a split second to realize the ball is way behind him, make the adjustment across his body to catch the football. Well, that's exactly what he does. I don't know many other receivers in this league that would make that catch. Just proving why he is the highest paid receiver in the league there. But anyway, AB looks good. Eli Rogers, I thought he had a great game. He had 5 catches on the day for 58 yards. Kind of, with all the Juju Smith-Schuster hype, Chris, I kind of forgot about Eli Rogers a little bit.
Right.
I sort of forgot just how talented he was. Forgot about the great route runner that he was. Forgot how good his hands were. You don't have to worry about him dropping catches like, say, one Sammy Coates. And a lot like Antonio Brown, man, this guy's just got a great ability to create yards after the catch. And I'll tell you something about Eli Rogers. The Steelers' offense coming into this season presents just such a challenge for defenses. You've got to focus on Martavis Bryant, 6'4" Martavis Bryant over there. You got to focus on Antonio Brown. We're obviously watching Le'Veon Bell. What are they going to do with him? I think because of all the other distractions the Steelers have, Rodgers has the opportunity to kind of be maybe a sleeper hit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think he has the opportunity to maybe be the guy you least expect and a defense doesn't prepare for and be a big target for Ben Roethlisberger. So, very excited about him. I also think after this game, we can definitively say that he is going to be the day one slot guy over Juju. Landry Jones. In came Landry Jones after Ben's 2 series. Landry Jones made his preseason debut. I know just saying the name Landry Jones, some of you just jumped off of a building. We didn't see any Josh Dobbs until about 2 minutes left in the game. The Steelers really, really wanted to get Landry Jones a lot of snaps in this game. But look, I felt like Landry had a good game. I really, really do. He goes 21 of 31 for 163 yards. I thought the Steelers struggled to move the football a little bit when he was in the game. I mean, look, guys, Landry Jones is what he is. He's not a powerhouse quarterback. He's not a drive the ball down the field quarterback like, say, Ben Roethlisberger or Aaron Rodgers. But I thought in this game he looked very comfortable. I thought he looked like he was in total control. I thought he moved around in the pocket well. I mean, I liked what I saw out of it. Also, I think we can definitively say after this game, guys, not that anybody with a brain didn't know this already, but Landry Jones is your number 2 guy. Josh Dobbs is 3rd string. I know some of you hate that, but Landry Jones is the number 2 guy, and he did prove that in this game. He did throw an interception down there at the goal line in the 4th quarter. that, let's be honest, kind of ultimately lost them the game. But on that play, I am going to defend Jones just a little bit in a couple of areas. First off, you just got to give the Colts a lot of credit for how they drew this play up. Colts cornerback Milton is one-on-one with Juju Smith-Schuster, but it's almost like they knew that they were going to run that crossing route, that slant route right there. He gets blocked by Smith-Schuster gets blocked by the Colts linebacker, and then Milton comes in for the interception. So a great design by the Colts. But can we ask one question though before we shred Landry Jones? Why did we run the ball? Why didn't we run the football at the 1 yard line? Everybody wants to get mad at Landry Jones
because it's preseason and you're practicing. Come on.
After the day, Terrell.
Do not second guess preseason play call.
I know,
you
dude.
Can't.
I'm trying. But hey, then again, Todd Haley at times, man, it makes me a little nervous. I like Todd, but I don't know. After the day that James Conner and Terrell Watson had, I'm just trying to figure out why you don't just punch that ball in there. But okay, fine. I won't overanalyze it too much.
Right.
But anyway, besides that interception, I thought Jones had a good game. I actually was a little impressed with what I saw out of him. Okay, so this is kind of awkward, Chris. We're about to sing the praises of Xavier Grimble. And that's really awkward because these are probably going to be very short-lived praises. I'd prepare my notes, and then today the Steelers go out and get Vance McDonald, which kind of means that Xavier Grimble is the obvious candidate to be cut.
Odd man out.
Yeah. I would say he's going to be cut rather soon. But then again, maybe not. Xavier Grimble had a nice game. He had a beautiful one-handed touchdown grab, great route run there right up the seam. But I feel like with the Vance McDonald signing, it could be a little, too late for him. And it's just disappointing, man, because Grimble is a guy who we've talked about for 2 years. We've been waiting for this guy to blow up, and he's had his little moments, he's had his flashes at times, but nothing in the way of consistency out of him.
Right.
So as much as I want to say, hey, hope, we saw Xavier Grimble do some things, I feel like we kind of have to put a damper on that now with the McDonald signing. So, sorry, Grimble. I talked about you nice in my notes. I said nice things about you in my notes, and then they signed McDonald, so sorry, man. Juju Smith-Schuster, I thought, had a nice game. He caught 3 balls for 31 yards on the night. Good hands, good physicality. That was on display there. And then last but not least, we will talk about the Steelers' run game. Chris, we have got a lot of weapons at the running back position on this team, man. James Conner, I didn't like how much the Steelers used Conner in this game. I wanted to see more of him. He only ran the football 4 times in this game, but he got 26 yards off of those carries, averaging 6 yards per carry. I think the run that got us all riled up was the run where he bounced it on the outside and took it up the left sideline. I don't know who that Colts defensive back was, but just abused him. Just absolutely abused him. Ran up to him thinking he was going to make a tackle, just bounced right off of Conner. Flew back a couple of feet. Crowd started going crazy. Conner started flexing a little bit, so that was kind of a cool moment. And then we need to talk about Terrell Watson. Chris, I'll tell you where I'm at with Terrell Watson. I know that this sounds mean because this guy has had a very productive offseason. I would cut Niall Davis and put Terrell Watson on this football team.
He's your third running back.
I'd put Terrell Watson on this. How can you not, guys?
Over Toussaint?
Toussaint's gone. Toussaint's gone. He also had a leg contusion in this game, so that clearly spells the end for him. Terrell Watson had 8 carries in this game for 40 yards. Some of the runs this guy had, Chris, he does not need a hole. Some of the runs he had were just bouncing off of guys, yards after contact, just tough, hard-fought, physical yards. Also had 4 catches in this game, including that big 22-yard play. I don't know, dude. I just think that this guy gives you so much more, I think, than Niall Davis. Yes, Niall Davis can give you a kick return threat, but, man, Terrell Watson gives you kind of that Le'Veon Bell thing going on. He's 6'1". He can also receive. He also runs the football. He's got a scary amount of speed. I am head over heels with Terrell Watson at this point, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me after the offseason that Niall Davis has had. I kind of feel bad about it myself, but after what Terrell Watson did in this game with the way of receiving and the way he ran the football, I just think practice squad's a waste. He is too talented of a guy to throw on a practice squad, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
So I'm sorry, Niall Davis. But anyway, a lot of good stuff in this game. Liked what I saw out of the offense. You had some big players or had some guys do some nice things on the defensive side of the football, but same stuff I said last week, man. I'm just really ready for this secondary to get under control, and we don't have a long time for them to figure it out at this point. Like I said, I think it's a good thing that Cameron Sutton's back now. I think that gives us an opportunity to maybe give us a little bit of flexibility in some of the things we can do. But if we can clean that up, I feel a lot more comfortable about this team. So
very good.
Chris, let's kick it over to you. Your Washington Redskins are winless no more. You guys got it done against the Cincinnati Bengals, 23-17.
We avenged the London tie.
You did avenge the London tie.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
It was it's a preseason game.
There you go.
It's
thank you for listening, everybody.
It's just
great.
It
analysis.
was so frustrating to watch the Redskins start this game offensively. That's where I'll start, is the offensive side of the ball. I think we went pretty much 3 and out our first 3 drives.
Yeah.
We had 2 sacks and 1 intentional grounding, which should have been a sack. If Kirk doesn't just try to throw the ball out, that would have been a sack. On 3 straight third downs. So that was a horrible start.
Yeah.
And I guess I am worried about that in the scope, not just, people kind of bore in on Cousins on this, but it's not just Cousins, it's everybody.
Yeah.
It seems to be Gruden's offense, because last year, time after time, game after game, we just got off to horrible starts. And, we always seem to kind of catch ourselves somewhere in the late first, early second quarter, and obviously we hung in there enough to be 8-7-1, but, it was so rare to see the Redskins get out and get a lead and build on it.
Yeah.
And so I've been as discouraged about that just as a whole as anything. And like I said, you can't just look at Kirk Cousins as the issue. And up until this game, the run game had been awful. Now, the bright spot in this game was the run game.
Yeah.
Rob Kelly, folks, everybody that was kind of clamoring for him to take a seat on the bench, the dude looked great.
Yeah, I was happy for him in this game.
I thought scheme-wise it was really – we had a nice inside zone, kind of a trap play where it wasn't actually a trap, but it was just kind of a seal inside zone, and he got 21 yards off of that. Folks, we actually saw, and I don't know, I can't remember the play. I can't remember what play. I cannot remember the sequence. I can't remember. I think it was like the third. Anyway, I had to go back and look, but I watched it several times. But anyway, folks, we actually saw counter gap get run in that play. Now, if you're a Redskin fan of a certain age, like I am, you understand what that means. And counter gap, very simply, was, if you were a Skins fan back then, you understood it was mainly going to be Grim and Jacoby pulling. The left guard and the left tackle were going to pull. The rest of the line was going to block down. The running back takes a counter step, gets the handoff, follows the two, either goes inside or follows them on, as the play develops to the outside. And they actually ran sort of a variation of that play. And I was like, did I just see what I saw? And I kept rewinding. I was like, wow, look at that. But anyway, we actually got like 5 yards off of it. But no, you don't understand.
You hyped it up way too much to say 5 yards.
Structurally, it was a well-designed play, and it got 5 yards.
Oh, sure. It's just you were like going on. I'm like, man, 15-5.
Oh, no, it was a 5-yard run.
Okay.
Which for us
5
is
yards
good.
is good. 5 yards is good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Barry Sanders averaged 5 yards carry. That's Hall of Fame.
That's progress.
That is for us.
Hey.
We actually saw a rushing touchdown in the red zone, which that was positive. I think Kelly finished 10 carries, 57 yards.
Yeah.
And we had 77 yards on the ground in the first half. And after those first 3 drives, the Redskins really began to put some points on the board. We actually scored 13 points.
Now, do you feel like Kelly has kind of established himself at this point as the day one guy?
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I was going to say,
No question.
P. Ryan's been a little underwhelming. Is it a matter of him just finding the sea legs? Or?
Yeah, I think he's looked better. He looked better in the second week. He didn't get as much running time as I thought in this game, as I thought he would. Didn't get as many carries as I thought he would, but I'm still really happy with this dude. But it was the first game where you came off the field feeling like, okay, this was a well put together run day. That we made plays, where we needed to on the ground.
Yeah.
Another area of concern, we had 2 3rd-and-1 conversions called back by penalties. That kills me. I mean, kills me. One was an illegal shift. The other one was it's a block in the back on Maurice Harris. He kind of caught the guy in the side, but you got to be smarter than that. You can't do that, especially outside the tackle box area. So that was frustrating to me, to have 2 first downs. And that's the kind of thing where you can't pin that on Cousins, because if you get those first downs, then you begin to string some more drives.
That's
right.
a good point.
So,
yeah.
Now, I'm not going to give Cousins a pass in this game. He didn't look good.
No, he did not.
But he didn't look good. The interception, Chris Cooley did a great film breakdown of that interception. He looked hard at Jordan Reed in that situation. Jordan Reed had a choice route. He chose to go inside. It was man coverage, but the safety, which Cooley identified as the lurk player, came down very smartly into that area, and that forced Cousins off of that. We saw him do this several times last year in one preseason game. I think it was the 3rd preseason game last year. We saw him get picked going late to the outside. We saw him give up 2 touchdowns to Philadelphia last year on being late to the outside, and he was late in this one. Did not do a good job of recognizing Vontaze Burfict being the flat defender, and I think, again, Cooley wisely pointed out that once you see Burfict react to the flat, then you really can't make the throw out there. And Cousins did.
I'm just glad he's okay.
And he was late.
I'm just glad he's
Burfict's okay?
No, I'm just glad, like,
Chris Thompson's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, with Burfict there.
Good Lord.
Burfict proceeds to run and jump into our stands. Not into the arms of any waiting fans. He just jumps up there and stands behind the wall in the seats, acting like an idiot. Nice job. Enjoy your 5 game.
Yeah, I was going to say, enjoy that. Enjoy
that vacation.
Yep.
Cousins,
but he's a nice guy.
Right, he's a great guy.
He doesn't mean it. Gosh.
Cousins, to me right now, he did have a couple of drops. They actually had 3 drops in this game. Again,
that's not going to help his case. Yeah,
that's not going to help any quarterback. But what you have to love about Cousins, he owns it. You know, he said, hey, a lot of those drops, I have to go back and look at me. Sometimes I left the receiver a little high. He had 1 drop. He had a beautiful pass to Terrell Pryor, who had room to run, and dude just dropped it. He dropped it.
Yeah.
James Crowder had he had a nice catch in the red zone. He had a couple of catches in this game. He had a drop. So I don't know. I thought that Cousins looked a little jittery early. I still think Cousins has a lot going on in his head. You know, I think there are times it seems to just take him some time for the game plan to become instinctive.
Yeah.
And really, really hope somehow we can get a handle on that, because that's you can't just keep starting games like that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like Cousins has a problem getting comfortable early.
Yeah, he does. That's what I'm saying. He just doesn't seem to really get comfortable until a couple of possessions or so, and then he seems fine. I mean, he seems a little better. And, you know, again, we put 13 points on the board basically in the second quarter, and we turned a 14-3 deficit into a 14-13 deficit.
Yeah.
I do like the way they came back, and I'm not going to shortchange them on that. Much rather see a team, if you're going to get off to a crappy start, I'd much rather see you fight and scrap and just get yourself back in the ball game, and they did that. Very nice play call on the screen to Chris Thompson. That was off play action. Again, a very nice pass inside the red zone to Jamison Crowder to set up the first touchdown. Did have a nice 3rd and 11 strike to Terrell Pryor on 3rd and 11 for 17 yards. Nice pass there. So it wasn't a waste of a day for Kirk, but I do think it's just right now that's kind of the wall we're at is we have to try to figure out, he's got to try to figure out how to get started quicker.
Well, and look, I know a lot of people just think we're going to defend Kirk no matter what, but I mean, how much of this do you feel like it's the new offense? I mean, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, it's still Jay Gruden's offense, but look, man, you can't
it's
two receivers
yeah.
who you spent a couple years with and it just be the same.
And I think we saw a little bit of that too, with the Terrell. I think you could definitely tell he and Pryor still trying to fill each other out.
Yeah, I mean, he had chemistry with guys like Garcon and Jackson.
He knew exactly how Pierre Garcon was going to come out of his breaks. Another couple of things I found interesting, there were several plays where they set up deep play action passes and he came off of it and went the check down. And a lot of fans were screaming, folks, that's not Deshaun Jackson running out there.
Yeah.
And Kirk many times last year just let it fly.
Yeah.
Because you were comfortable thinking that Deshaun Jackson
was going to get
that football. I think with Terrell Pryor, maybe you're looking for a little bit bigger window there. Until you get comfortable. I think that's what we're going to have. I do think there is going to be a learning curve here. I was really bummed that Josh Dotson did not play in this game. Incredibly bummed.
Is he still dealing with this hamstring?
Well, they kept him out because, he experienced tightness in his hamstring. Gruden said had it been a game, he would have played. But right now, I am officially worried about Josh Dotson. No, I really am. The guy just seems fragile. And the thing that's even scarier is we're left with Ryan Grant really on the outside. And I'm not hating on Ryan Grant. I think he's a great guy. But the guy just doesn't –
he's not the athlete that Dotson is.
No, and he doesn't have the speed to create big plays. He doesn't have the size to be physical enough to fight, outfight a football. So if he doesn't run a route that he's able to create separation on in a shorter area, then that side of the field is just almost non-existent to the passing game. Was good to see Jordan Reed in this game.
Catches. Yeah.
And they certainly went his way a couple of times. The Bengals, I thought, did a great job defending him for the time he was in there.
Does he have a robot toe right now?
He is wearing an orthotic, a different cleat and an orthotic, and I think the treatment that he did to try to help it that actually made it flare up has continually to improve. It's continually gone down. So I think he's much better than he was. But it was great to see him.
Hashtag bionic toe.
I thought offensively, on the offensive line, terrible out of the gate. Got better as the game went on. Laval got blown up on the first sack. Brandon Sheriff got completely turned around by Michael Johnson on the second one. The third one, Chris Thompson, who was actually a very good blitzer, allowed a little more pressure up the middle, which forced Kirk out. And Carl Lawson beat Trent Williams to get the sack on that play.
There's my boy.
So I thought it was kind of sloppy, and I'm hoping that.
I feel like you've mentioned the offensive line a couple of times.
Yeah, I don't think they've not had a dominant. They've not had a dominant preseason, and I'll close the offensive side in terms of the starters with this. Jerry Brewer, who writes for the Washington Post, had an article, and I'll sum it up by basically saying this: we have an offense that is going into its fourth year under Jay Gruden. Third year with Kirk Cousins, third full year with Bill Callahan. This is the third straight year this offensive line will be together. We want to see flashes of brilliance in the preseason,
and that's not an unrealistic thing to ask for.
No, you want to see one drive where like the Bengals opening drive, where it just looks great, everybody looks comfortable, and we haven't had that, and so questions linger.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll close. That's where we're at right now with the starting group.
Okay.
And no, folks, I don't look at everything that happens at the quarterback position with Kirk Cousins through the contract size. Okay, I don't care that he's making $24 million this year. Doesn't matter to me. He's our quarterback.
Deal with it.
That's it.
It is what it is at this point.
I mean, he just needs to play well.
Yeah.
I want to see him play well. And every incompletion, I don't sit there and say, we're not going to pay him $24 million. I hate that. I hate it. And I know some fans like to do that. I'm not hating on you guys. That's how you want to roll. That's how you want to roll. It just it just grates on my nerves that's the kind of analysis we're going to look out.
It's very and you're going to have to deal with that all year. One bad throw, bad interception.
It just gets old. And look, I'll be very honest with you. I don't read. I put Twitter down during a game. I have nothing to do with Twitter during watching the game.
See, I get so riled up. I have to get the frustration out.
I can't take it. Because I don't want the distraction. It's not that I hate everything everybody says. It's just I just don't want the distraction.
You're going to see that one idiot fan, and you're going to be like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. So, anyway, we want to see some brilliance, and I just don't think we did, so we have questions.
Okay.
Second string, I don't think anybody really stood out except for maybe Colt McCoy. I thought he put together a second straight
Start him.
Good outing.
Do it.
But that's what he's supposed to do.
Oh yeah, I mean he's been there for a while, so
this is what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go all ape on that one either. Guys that stood out on the second team, Ty and Secchi look good. I still like the way Samaje Perine runs. Mac Brown had a couple of nice runs, but again, he hasn't really gotten a ton of reps, so it's really hard to say. Oh yeah, he's looked outstanding or anything. Defensively, first drive looked like we were in Groundhog Day. It was the exact same foolishness that went on last year. The Redskins starting defense gave up a third down conversion rate of 67% when they were in.
Boy.
Now, some of that is overshadowed. Some of that became because it happened because of the first drive. We had an opportunity to get them off. We had 3rd and 13 deep in their own territory, and we give up a 18-yard completion to AJ Green. Josh Norman not even anywhere near the football. That one hurt, and it just seemed like after that play, the Bengals just stayed ahead of the chains. They were just very much on schedule with their play calls, and they went right down the field and scored. After that, they didn't score again.
Yeah,
they did a nice job. Junior Gillette got on the field. He did a nice job pressuring Danny Dalton a couple of times. I thought the coverage was better. I do want to send a huge shout-out to Bashaud Breeland. Played
had a good game.
Incredible in this football game. I mean, incredible. And I think you give this guy man coverage, let him stick to his receivers. He's much better than when he's in space. Overall, I feel like they did a pretty good job against AJ Green. John Ross was a non-factor. I was kind of curious to see what they would do with him. Daniel LaFell had a couple of catches, but overall, I liked what we did defensively.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon had a couple of nice runs, but we didn't give up anything huge to anybody.
And I feel like that's an area that this defense has definitely gotten better
yes,
on,
and I'm the biggest takeaway I've got right now is I'm very encouraged with what I've seen out of the run defense. One of the things I never felt like Joe Barry made that a priority. I feel like Minuski makes it a lot more of a priority, and I think it shows.
Yeah.
In terms of who stood out to me on the starting end of things, pretty quiet. It's really hard to get a sense on what Tom Sula is thinking on this defensive line rotation. So it's really hard to – man, Sid is tearing it up over there.
Sid is tearing it up.
Wow.
That was like a solid 5 minutes.
He's got an ice cream cone over there.
You go, Sid.
Anyway,
I really hope the mics picked that up. I
really hope it didn't. Ugh.
Those anyway, missed it. Sid just licked himself for the last 10 minutes, just nonstop.
I don't think anybody was massively, stood out massively aside from Bashaud Breeland.
Yeah.
But again, they didn't really give up anything over the top. They didn't give up anything cheap. So I thought it was a pretty solid day for the. Pretty solid day.
Sid, you gotta knock it off, man.
That's a pretty solid day for our starting defense.
Respect for the podcast.
He doesn't care.
Oh man.
But
yeah, I thought Breeland had an excellent day.
Yeah.
I was really happy. I mean, after all the crap he's gotten, it was kind of nice to see him.
Exactly. I thought we had a couple of good pushes from the pocket. One thing that happened in this game that I'm just really bummed about is Phil Taylor tore his quad.
Oh, yeah.
And he really looked like he was going to make this football team as their starting nose tackle. Now, that has become, really real big question. Do you go with Ron Francis? Do you go with Mbu? I don't know what happens from here, but that was tough because this guy
had been productive.
Yes, he had worked hard to get back on the field. Hadn't played since 2014. Hate it for that guy. But I hope he's able to come back and give it another go.
Yeah.
But again, I came away this preseason in terms of a starting defense much happier in most areas. I do feel like on third downs, if you take the Packer game into account, you take this game into account, still got to get better on third down. I feel like we saw in this game, we saw a lot more 4-2.
4-2.
Yeah, a lot more of the nickel and dime stuff than we had seen in the other two games.
Now, do you think more of that was experimentation or just
yeah? I
Bengals?
mean, it just
the Bengals are a team that spreads you out. That's
yeah,
just
I mean they may want to work with that. I think the Redskins are going to be a lot more productive if they can stay in their base defense. But in this league, you have to be able to play in that 4-man front. Unfortunately,
sub-package defense, man, it's getting bigger.
So our second string defense, there's a couple of guys. Martrell Spate, I think
he had a game.
I mean, that dude, every time he turned around, he was flashing. I mean, popping guys. The other thing is, I think it's pretty clear the starting linebackers will be Mason Foster and Zach Brown, which I think it should have been. Will Compton and Martrell Spate will more likely be the backups. That was another solid game from Joey Mbu at the nose. Thought he had a couple of nice plays. Pretty quiet game for Nico Marley.
Yeah,
he's a guy to really need to flash in every, all the games. But very good game again from Fabian Moreau. Had a nice pass defense in the end zone. This guy really isn't afraid out there at 1-on-1.
He's the real deal.
And another guy that has really impressed me, and it's been a very small sample size. I'm not saying he's a starter, but I've been much happier than I thought I would have been with Monte Nicholson at safety. I don't think there's any question he makes this team. And again, I thought they fought. I thought they scrapped pretty well, and they came out with a win. What that means for the season, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
I got no idea.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my synopsis. I mean, it was a good bad thing.
Yeah.
Our run game finally woke up. Would have loved to have seen our pass game kind of match with that, but didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, don't you tend to get a little more antsy as the later preseason games kind of get going? It's kind of like me. I'm really starting to overanalyze some stuff the closer the season gets.
Well, you do. I mean, especially when you're in a position like the Redskins are, where you're trying to get over that 8-9 win hump. Yeah. I'm constantly thinking, are we good enough to do that?
Yeah.
Do we have the horses to do that? But I do think that one thing I feel pretty strongly about is we've got to run the football effectively, especially early in this season. And Gruden has got to play off that. It can't just be a token. It can't be a token run game.
Yeah.
We need to be effective running the football, and Gruden needs to work his game plans off of that. Play action, try to keep teams at that, at the line, respecting the run as much as we can.
And not only that, but it keeps Kirk. I think Kirk will be a better quarterback if you guys can get.
He plays much better in that scenario. But the other thing is, there's going to be a pretty big learning curve with Pryor and Dotson on the outside.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't worry about our inside passing game with Jordan Reed and Jamison Crowder. Is that this?
I don't know. That little squeaky sound. I kept thinking it was my phone. I kept looking.
I thought it was too. I was like, dude, you're getting blown up.
Sid's licking himself. The phone's vibrating. The table's squeaking.
Unbelievable.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I'm just ready for Philadelphia.
Yeah,
that's
kind of where I'm at.
That's what I'm ready for. Just bring on Philly.
Yep. Did you kind of just knock out your news/injury stuff in there and all that? Yeah. Okay. For us, I guess the big news item here is the acquisition of Vance McDonald. Chris, we'll hit this very briefly. The Steelers acquired Vance McDonald from the 49ers today. The Steelers gave up a 2018 fourth-round draft pick for McDonald. And they will also receive a 2018 fifth-round draft pick from the 49ers as well. My thoughts on this overall, I love it. I absolutely love this. I'm very excited about him. This is a guy who right now gives us what we do not have in our tight end core, and that is a vertical, downhill, stretch the field type of guy, a great receiver like route runner. who once he catches the football can turn it upfield and create big yards. Saw a retweet today that Vance McDonald is the first tight end since Shannon Sharp to have 2 65-plus yard touchdown receptions in a single season. So you were looking at a guy who, once he catches it, he can turn it upfield real quick.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers must think a lot of him, too, because they gave up a 4th-round pick.
Well, they gave up a 4th round.
Now they get a 5th back.
They get a 5th back, and I guess while you just said that, we'll go ahead and hit it. So obviously the Steelers took a risk in getting him, but they also didn't at the same time. He is under contract until 2021.
Yeah,
So the Steelers before 4-1, like before April 1st next season,
right,
they can get out of this before it gets fully guaranteed. So let's just say McDonald gets injured or he has a crummy season. The Steelers they've got some wiggle room here. So this is this isn't a Ladarius Green style risk, if you know what I'm saying. But look, guys, this is a guy who is extremely athletic. He makes tough, combative catches. And that is something right now that I think guys like Xavier Grimble, guys like Jesse James, they just aren't doing. And Vance also gives you that ability to just catch in traffic. He doesn't need, a ton of space to do it. There is no doubt that we lost something in Ladarius Green. We lost a great athlete. We lost the possibility of having a Jordan Reed, a Rob Gronkowski-style tight end. And Vance kind of gives that to us. Look, guys, Mike Tomlin was very blunt about it today, and I 100% agree with him. He was asked why. I mean, why did you go acquire him? And he said, because the guys we have been inconsistent. And that's the honest-to-God truth right now, man. Jesse James is what Jesse James is. He is never going to be the Jordan Reed, Rob Gronkowski-style tight end.
Right.
Not to mention, guys, I'm a little unhappy with Jesse James right now. This guy is at a very inconsistent offseason. He'll make a nice catch here. He'll throw a good block there, but then the next play he'll miss an easy block. Had a terrible drop in this past game against the Colts. So he's a guy right now that I'm kind of iffy on. Xavier Grimble, look, it's kind of like I said when I was doing the recap a little while ago. Grimble, we've been waiting for Grimble to blow up for, I feel like, 2 years. We've been talking about him. We've been hyping him up, and he's had moments. That's all I'll say. He's had little moments. At no point in time has Xavier Grimble ever given me a reason to think, oh, he can be the route running tight end we need.
Right.
We had that expectation for him, just didn't work out. David Johnson, I don't think David Johnson is affected by this. Johnson's a veteran. He's a good blocker. He's a good special teams tight end. I don't think Vance comes in and threatens him. If you were to ask me who right off the bat he threatens, I think Xavier Grimble's out the door. They're not keeping 4 tight ends. We know that. Jesse James, even though he has been a little underwhelming, I don't think they're going to get rid of him. I think they're comfortable with what they have in him. Would like to see him improve. I'm very excited about this guy. I really think he gives us an element that we missed or that we lost in Ladarius Green. So I'm excited about that. Fitzgerald Toussaint, he had a leg injury in this game. They were calling it a contusion. And that's just an unfortunate way for him, I would say, to end his Pittsburgh Steelers career. I think we already knew the writing was on the wall that he was out the door. Right. Now with this injury, I think it all but confirms it. And last but not least, Keon Adams. This was a report that surfaced last week. It was kind of a rumor. It wasn't officially confirmed, but today it was officially confirmed. Keon Adams is going to have season-ending shoulder injury, Chris. He's going to be placed on injured reserve, which I was very happy about. I was very happy that the Steelers did not cut him or waive him injured. Adams is a very talented outside linebacker who I think if you give him another year, a little more development, I think can really be a special guy. So we'll get him back in 2018. I think he's a surefire bet to make the team at that point. It also means Arthur Moats is a lock to make this team. So Arthur Moats, you're welcome, sir.
Very good.
Okay, and that's really all the news items I have. That's that's when you need to end the show. That's when the universe is like,
Sia's got that covered.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you very much for listening / watching. Chris, that's all I got for you tonight.
That's all I got.
Okay, remember, follow us on Twitter. We are at Steelskin Show. Like the show on Facebook, facebook.com/Steelskin Show. You can follow us individually on Twitter. I am at P_Garrison. He is at CGLSKSC. Are you ever going to change your tag?
No.
It's such a difficult tag. Just going to roll with it.
I guess so.
I respect you.
Why change it?
I respect you.
Why change it?
iTunes, if you're listening on iTunes, please rate the show. Please subscribe and write a review. That's really going to help us out. And YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Comment below. Join the conversation. Chris, I'm very excited. I will be in Charlotte, North Carolina this Thursday for the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm very excited about that. Excited to see our boys live in action. You guys, who do you guys finish off with?
Tampa.
Okay. Guys, until next week, Good night.